everybody. Welcome to Branding Bud Live, the live stream that's 100% THC and 0% WTF. Every week we bring cannabis people together to talk about the business of cannabis. I'm David Palashuk, the founder of Branding Bud Consulting Group and the author of Branding Bud, the Commercialization of Cannabis, the first book on cannabis branding. And I'm joined by my co-host, Andreas Neumann, an expert in consumer insights and cannabis. Welcome, Andreas.
Thanks, David. I'm super excited to be here. I see also a comment here from one of our viewers that they love the new tagline. I love it too. Thanks, David, for putting that together. I think it's a funny one. I just wanted to say we're back for another episode. I see people joining, and for people who are new, I just should mention that this show is interactive. So we will be encouraging you to drop questions, drop comments, do a little interactive guessing game. If you want to tell us what you're dressing up for as Halloween this year, I'm curious to know that as well. This show is not just about us up here talking, it's about building this community together. So definitely feel free to join in the conversation.
Yeah, and that's what the chat is on the right side. So definitely ping in there, join, chat. Tell us what you're thinking, because again, as Adriana said, it's all about us. And speaking of us, we've got a great guest with a fantastic background, and I'm going to forgive me, but I'm going to read his introduction just so I don't miss anything, because it's pretty amazing. Our guest today is Dre Neumann, and Dre Neumann is the Chief Creative Officer at Jushi Holdings, which includes both cannabis brands and dispensaries. So we'll not only be talking about products, we'll also be talking about dispensaries and the purchasing experience today as well. But Dre's brands and dispensaries over at Jushi include Tasteology, Sesh, Nira, The Lab, The Bank, and then on the retail side, Beyond Hello, Nature's Remedy, and New Leaf. And Dre has been at the creative forefront for decades. He's worked at Saatchi & Saatchi among other well-known agencies, and actually in 2020 won a Grammy Award. So he is well versed. I think we're going to have a really broad and wide conversation today about branding, about cannabis, and about creativity. So please welcome Dre Neumann.
Yeah.
Hi, Dre. Welcome.
Hi, guys. Hi, Adriana. Hi, David. Thanks for having me here. Exciting.
Yeah, our pleasure. How are you today?
Excellent and lovely intro, I have to say as well. Like the comments say, this looked very good. Good music as well to get into it.
Mm-hmm. This is the pump-up music. Gets us excited to get going. So Dre, just quick icebreaker for you before we jump into a little game.
Yeah.
I want to hear your perspective as someone who has such an extensive background, both in branding and of course in cannabis. Where do you see those two worlds converging? If you want to kick us off today with a little background on your views on that.
You mean the real world and the cannabis bubble, kind of how they come closely become one?
Branding and cannabis.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So I'm coming originally from Europe. So I've worked a lot in brands in Europe, and Europe, as you know, is like there's many languages, many countries, many different rules, many different regulations. So it's very interesting, like the consumer goods. Like if you have worked in advertising in other countries, not only in the States, you will see it's not as complicated maybe as everybody wants to make it all the time. You have to deal with a lot of regulations, with a lot of problems to overcome. But the interesting thing is that you can build brands basically in every state, and no other state knows about it. So this is like in Europe. Like we had like for Procter & Gamble, you have like different names. Mr. Clean is called Meister Proper in Germany. So it's like the same product, different names. So it's interesting. Very similar to that, and I feel I was kind of by European background very trained for this situation, you know. But it's going places we don't see so much on the brands are starting to connect. There's certain ones stand out now in flower in the different categories. It's all different. Flower is probably the least brandable category. As soon as it's processed, I think, like even down to pre-rolls or vapes and concentrate and edibles, I think there is a big opportunity now to be the one for the future. And you have the outstanding ones already. You have the Wilds and the Caminos. I think these are the first brands. Then in vapes and flower, Stizzy probably, like a very, 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 very powerful brand. Cookies has always been like in everybody's ear. So we're starting with this now. It's totally in the beginning, and I think like for everybody has still a lot of time to come into this business and make their mark. I mean, we're just getting started on this.
I think who was it, George Gage, that said this is the new era of the brand in cannabis?
It is, yeah. I mean, 100%. As I said, but it's hard. I mean, the category of flower, for example, is like it's basically like, imagine compare it with the strawberries. You go to Whole Foods. I mean, like there's so many different packaging concepts and exciting ways to package it, plus the children safe element to it. And in the end, people really want to see the flower, and they want to taste it and smell it, and they want to buy the flower. You could put it in a normal bag, in my opinion. So we have stores where we only focus on our own house brands, and our house brands are displayed as where we can. For example, in Nevada, we show the actual flower in the store, so people like choosing it like in a bakery, kind of, oh, I like that strain, this is new, and they talk about the real product instead of, oh, there's some fancy packaging but you cannot even see the product. That's the problem, I think. Other categories different. From as soon as it's processed, I think is like compared with strawberry jam as well. That's, oh, I've got this from France. This is amazing. I have the whole backstory of it. But flower itself, the commodity, hard to brand, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, though. I agree with you. I mean, the first thing that I just want to call out, I've never really thought about marketing and branding in Europe, even though I've worked for major international corporations. The rules and regulations vary from country to country.
And the language and
just
everything, the packaging.
So yeah, and I appreciate your analogy. Please don't tell anybody it's not as complicated as it seems, because that's how we all make our living, right? So
yeah, but I don't think I think we're brave contenders in this like new business. You have to be already brave to partake, right? And like you do overcome that, and then you're facing like incredible on all fronts. I mean, from retail to brands, incredible hurdles. But I don't want to say it's like that's the job, right? I mean, we don't have to cry about it all day long. It's like let's get on with it and do our best. And there's a lot of learnings. There's so much learning still to do. You know, the data coming in, the first data coming in now, and analyzing that. And then I think we're very early still. I just want to encourage everybody who wants to join the cannabis industry. I think it's still a great moment, because always you think it's too late, right? when you stand in front of it.
You heard it here first. It's not too late.
That's right, and it's true. Always, always the first ones in. They're the ones that are blazing the trail, and the ones to follow do have it easier. Usually have it easier.
That's right. That was, from the American, the history of America, right? Like first it's hard. Then in German you say, I think, Notbrot or something like that. First is like the first guys really have to do the hard stuff, and only the third generation gets the benefit, right? And we're like still snow plowing the way for everybody to come, I guess.
That's right. Dre, because you have such a broad background, I should start off. We have an audience participation question or questions that we do. But we always ask our audience to participate and give us their answers in the sidebar. And of course, we always ask our guests to chime in. And we've done something a little bit different today. It's a little bit broader because of your background. We have a report, and a report talks about creative assets and how companies can use those creative assets in ways that would make their brand or advertisements more recognizable. So, so we want to leverage that information, that knowledge, that data into the cannabis industry, and just start to break that bubble that we're always talking in a little bit here. So we have a report. It's from Ipsos, which is a global research company, and they analyzed 200,000 pieces of creative and cross-referenced it with the success of a campaign. And for the purpose of this study, They define campaign as successful if people were able to recall the ad and brand behind it unprompted. So we've got this question now. We're going to bring it up.
Excellent.
Let's talk about the creative assets. So our Canna quiz today is, which of the following brand assets is least used and the most likely to increase the success of an ad? So A, slogan, B, audio, C, color, D, characters. And we're curious to hear from our listeners first, our audience first, and chime in. And then Dre, we're curious to hear your thoughts on this, because you've really participated in so many aspects of creative.
Yeah.
While we're waiting for people to chime in with their thoughts, would you talk us through your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I have a so my speciality always was, that's where I went. I went into the agencies with my own concept, and they always when I was with Saatchi and Saatchi, you mentioned, I had my own division, which was the branded entertainment division, and that marries all that stuff together, really. My answer is like not exactly the thing, but it's important to come up with specifically in cannabis, where you cannot, I mean, we know we cannot really advertise most of the states. So my background, branded entertainment, early 2000s already, there was like something people already, or customer clients of Saatchi already wanted to have this service, like creating IP, which involves all those things, right? But it might be even metaphorical for what you say. You express yourself in values, but you don't never name the brand. So, and that is like when you have an audio clip, for example, and you have some sound, you keep repeating it as in a movie, and like it reminds you of something, and you get reminded.
I have a feeling you might have froze up.
I'm just going to call out a couple of the guesses that have rolled in. We had one vote for B, audio, and one vote for E, all of the above.
Nice try, Paula.
I promise this is not a trick question like last week's.
Right. Dre, we lost you there for a moment, but you're back now.
I'm back now. Okay, good. So yeah, branded entertainment, creating IP, which involves all those things, not naming the product. That's what I would get inspired by this. But if you, I don't want to. You want me to say my opinion? What's the one? It's probably.
Sure.
Yes.
I mean, I would say it's probably audio is the least used.
We got a vote for A, slogan, and a vote for D from Caroline. That's my mom. Hi, Mom, for characters.
No, but I think it's important to try to connect with I always intellectual properties which have the same brand values, and then push those out, and that's going to stick with the people, and that involves all those things in some shape or form. Audio is a wonderful thing you could evolve on. I mean, music is like cannabis in a way. It's the same thing. It has no can. It's just a feeling, right? So music and cannabis go very well together. I think there's not enough done in that area to partner and get relevant exposure from those partnerships with songs or artists or stuff like that. So I think there's a lot to do in this field. People are trying, but hasn't been done right yet, in my opinion.
You know, when you make that point, there's a number of brands now that are coming out which are actually tying. We always talk about, Adriana and I at this point always joke about the term or the phrase meeting customers where they are, but that's really what brands need to do. And there's a couple of brands right now that are specifically music genre based. For example, one is called Heavy Grass. Heavy Grass is a brand from Engager Brands, and what's really interesting is they actually know where the heavy metalers are, right? They know the concerts they're showing up at, they know the events they're going to, they know what they're interested, and therefore from the get-go their brand is really based on a specific consumer. So for them to put a sound to their brand is a lot easier than perhaps maybe some other brands looking for an audio or sound to encapsulate what their brand is.
But I would say art is a feeling, right? You could say, like in music is a feeling as well. More, there has no canvas and stuff. It's just, I say, it's very similar to the cannabis experience, right? It's just it goes very well together. I think so. That's a great way of trying to connect with a certain niche audience, right? The heavy metal audience, or like, and then you have as well like the heavy hitters. For example, this brand is interesting. It's kind of, for me, it's like based on, like, it looks like Sons of Anarchy, kind of this kind of vibe, right? But it's just been thrown out there, but it's heavy and it's strong, and that's what people are looking for. Lots of THC and low prices. That's what we see a lot these days. So those, whatever, when you say heavy in something as well as a word, it's probably likely to get some traction, right?
Right. It's interesting. Well, let's see. So you spoke about audio. Would that be your
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I say audio because I want to do something in audio, actually.
Okay. And I see Stanley Simon also mentioned that I think video is the least used, and it is proven to increase awareness in traffic. Yeah, well, video, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? I guess video is worth way more than that.
1 million words.
It's interesting. Well, let's take a look. Let's see what the answer is. This is where we need our drum roll and our sound effects. And the answer is
Dre, you got it right.
Oopsie daisy.
So which of the following
I wouldn't have actually thought that.
And this is for across the board, not just cannabis.
No, that's super interesting. I mean, that's actually good news I think it's good news for the artists and for the collaborations with this. I mean, this is phenomenal. I think so. It's a great place to work.
In the report, they showed a chart that said only 6% of ads use branded audio, but it can increase the success of your ad by almost double in some cases.
Amazing. That's an amazing stat.
And if you think about like our most memorable ad campaigns for general products like Alka-Seltzer and the plop plop fizz fizz, like that's it like sticks in your brain, right? And people can remember not only the ad itself but also the brand behind it more easily.
Yeah. I mean, this is great because as well, like it's you get the emotion. That's why it's emotion, right? So it connects with you on a different level, and it can connect with you without any canvas, as I say. Like it's just you hear it and you're there, right? So it makes sense. Very similar to cannabis experience.
So cool. Let's jump into talking about branding in general. Actually, let's not talk about branding in general. Let's talk about cannabis branding specifically. So we have a cannabis branding expert, which is a perfect guest for our show. And I just want to hear from you, Dre, more about what it's like to manage a whole house of brands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you have so many as part of Jushi. What is the strategy for, like, do you target specific types of cannabis consumers? Like, what does that landscape look like?
So in our case, I want to be very honest. So basically, we like when we started, we acquired. So we have different categories. We have certain brands we acquired. Because why did we acquire them? Because we thought they were Colorado brands. They were very powerful in the state, and they had a legacy and had a story. So we acquired it. The Bank and the Lab, our flower brand Bank, and the Lab, our vape brand and concentrate brand, it really has this backstory of Colorado. They're the ones who invented really the live rosin. The inventors, we have them on board and so on. So that's it. We took that story and we flashing it out now, and we're starting to evolve that. And even these brands were actually built like very early in 2014. They actually they were kind of out of date even, but you had the story, and thank God a story is always a good thing to have. So you build on that and you try to make really exquisite product with this stuff. So, and that was a journey itself, because we are acquiring a lot of grows. We have to do our thing to it. We have to bring in our strains and all that stuff. So this takes a while until you really actually can say this is actually on the level it was in Colorado. So we had a whole journey towards, like, now finally we have fantastic concentrate and fantastic flower in Pennsylvania, for example. That took a while, but we had to, when we took over those grows, we had to replace the existing brands we bought with our own things. So there was a journey on that. Then there's brands we a very cool story, I think, is like, and this is really based on data. We saw that the trend is going great quality, low price. We're looking at our facilities, and we saw there's a lot of stuff just goes into distillation, which is still really good stuff. Which falls down and it's just then disappears in the distillation machine. We say there's a market for that, so we created a brand for this, like, and it's very honest, like it's kind of an adventure. So that was the brief, an honest adventure. This is sachet, as we call it. It has a little French accent to it. It's like, and it's affordable. It's pre-grind. Sometimes it's like sometimes infused. You don't know what you're getting. You're getting the good stuff from the bank, which is fallen down. So you might be lucky to get something really good, or it's the lower testing stuff, but it doesn't overpromise. Let's call it like that. And that is really flying off the shelves. People like it. It's the philosophy of it. It has a little bit this outdoorsy log fire surfer vibe. It's affordable, and it's an adventure itself when you buy it, because you never know how good it is. But it's most of the time it's great. It's our best selling product, really, right? So we invented even a category, which is now others are doing that as well. It's a great thing. It's the B buds and the C buds and the pre-ground and a little bit infused and stuff. So that's a wonderful one. And then we're coming up now with new stuff, with new prime brands. We're growing. The better our flower gets, we need higher quality brands as well, and we need to stay in touch with the Gen Zs coming and all so on. So we have like new brands coming to cater that as well. And then our edible brand, Tasteology, a whole evolution as well. We started with a certain packaging, and you only can do this in cannabis in different states, right? We had a original packaging, but we knew our gummies, they were not there yet originally, right? The quality wasn't there. So we launched it in a different form, and now we're relaunching it with a complete vegan gummy in Massachusetts. This is vegan, it's the best chews. We have this master, this great chef who's created them. So finally we have our own gummy, and it deserves its own like update. The brand update of Tasteology, our edible brand, is like a big thing. We're actually launching it tomorrow in Massachusetts. Will be exciting, and that's completely new packaging, completely new vibe, vegan, gluten-free, and all that stuff. So super excited about that. So you have to you can see in my story, you go with the flow a little bit, but and then you have different markets where different possibilities are, and then you can test things here and not doing there, and sometimes they're looking different in different states. California now we're launching a completely different shape form of lab just to test new packaging concepts. So where can you do that, right? Like it's a road, but this is how we manage it. It's really lots of moving at the. I said it before, moving at the speed of opportunity, and moving at the speed of inspiration as well, but in a organized and corporate form. We have to put that two together, and that's what my team is doing. I think that's why we call it the creative team. I think it's good to be free-spirited and come up with those ideas, but then they have to connect with the brutality of the day-to-day need of the stores, the grows, and so on, and the flows and the deliveries and all that stuff. So you always have to be in both worlds, as well as a creative. That's why I say that. Like it's not just okay, let's have some great ideas and do it. It's really very close communication with the makers, like the guys in the GPs. They are our guys who can tell us what comes next, because certain plants grow, certain strains are better, certain strains are not so good. So it's constantly like moving with it. There's no, as you guys know, there's not a boring day in cannabis. There's always some new.
It's always an honest adventure.
But it evolves now into something, and you see the data coming back. In the beginning, when I started like 4 years ago, we didn't have any data from the stores. Like we only had like 3 stores. We just purchased Beyond the Low, but now we have like nearly 40 stores, and we're getting a lot of digitized, and the world has evolved in terms of digital pre-orders and all that stuff. So we have tons of traffic on our websites. So we're getting so much data back, which we now then slowly but surely, that learnings, the brands inherit slowly but surely. And you can do that in cannabis, because I know for sure I could launch tomorrow in Pennsylvania David's Finest as a flower brand, and it would sell out, right? Because it's some of the markets, it's just it doesn't matter because there's a flower shortage or anything. So
can we get it with a yellow tin that makes branded
he
sound?
He got it sorted out. Everything is ready here. Branding bud.
We got it already over here. Dre, you've really beautifully, connected. Really, you hit a home run in terms of connecting what we were really trying to talk about today, and really getting at the core of what creativity is, how we can leverage and harness creativity, and really bridge that into commerce, but specifically into cannabis. And I think it's so difficult to do that. Speaking of bridging these gaps as well, one of the things that Jushi really has to its advantage is not only are there products, but they're also retail stores. So would you mind chatting with us quickly about there's the product experience, which we always talk about, right? That seems to be what we always talk about here in the cannabis space. Where we seem to miss is the purchasing experience. So to a large extent, your reach extends out into the parking lot, if you will, where someone walks, gets out of their car and they walk up to the store and they're already feeling a vibe, whereas a brand, doesn't even get looked at or noticed more likely, well, certainly until the consumer gets in, but then it's usually the bud tender that has to call a brand out. So could you talk about that longer runway you have?
Yeah, so that's super. That's a great question. As I said before, so we have the whole line in place, but we have the GP and we have the stores, and we of course every brand in the world who is sold in the individual state we have probably on our shelves, right? But it's competing with our own house brands or private label, as we call it. So I think the most important thing in this game is like having quality product. It sounds super easy, but if you don't have quality product, then you don't even have to think about brand experience or whatever. They're gonna kill it. I mean, I know this from Reddit. When we launch, sometimes we have to buy flower. We're not enough, and we buy, and if it's not good enough, it immediately hits us, right? Like it hits the brand, and it hurts the brand if you release product which is not up to the best. So somebody doesn't like it, and you destroy you. So it's so important to have quality control, to know that your stuff is really fucking great, right? And then I think you start to do then your responsibilities as a in our case, we have our own store, so we have to prioritize our own brands, of course, and that you see in pricing, that you see in certain bundles or packages we offer. And then the others, of course, they treat it similarly in the store, but they come after our own brands, for sure. That you can say, oh, but it's not a secret, right? This is totally normal. I think there's a big advantage because we get a lot of feedback, of course. But as I said, if the product is not good, you don't even have to get started. You make sure your product is great, and then you can build, and then you can make all the fancy stuff, and you have your events, you have your pop-ups, you have your music production, the audio, your advertising. If you don't have that, don't even start. But big advantage, have your own store, because we see what goes, right? We know what's flying, and then we can accordingly communicate it to our GPs, and then we produce things which are selling. Or are like kind of the latest trends, but you see, like specifically the sachet I mentioned earlier. That's as soon as you put this on the shelves, it's gone, and others want as well. So people starting to asking other stores, not our own stores, in, for example, Massachusetts. People love that brand now, and they asking all over the place. So people ordering from us as well. So that's a natural, I think, evolution. That's the advantage when you have that, right? When you have your own retail with brands, but they're not limited to our own stores. They have to stand alone. They have to be as good as, they have to be able to compete with all the great guys. And there's a lot of great ones out there.
A second ago, you mentioned building a relationship with your customers directly. Like people are actually going to your website and seeking out products, and you're getting feedback, and you're starting to like build a one-to-one connection instead of just going through your stores. Although obviously that's an option for you too, because you have so many locations. I'm curious to know, when you're thinking about like building that experience in a store, And I should mention too that one of the things I find really interesting about your brand is you have such a strong footprint in Pennsylvania, which is a state that we don't hear about a lot. Do you think about, like, is the Pennsylvania consumer different than the California consumer? And is that, do you get that granular with it?
100%. So I think we're mainly we're more towards East Coast and medical markets we started in, right? And then we slowly moved up to California, through Nevada, and then California. So I can tell you the Californian market is for us like a real where we compete with the best, where we have only like a limited amount of stores. We really compete with the best here, and we're trying to learn from here and apply this to the other markets. Now let's go to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a medical market, as you know. Pennsylvania is one of those medical markets which was from the beginning, the stores already look kind of hipster, but there's a mandatory session for every first customer to have there's basically a white coat pharmacist in there, and you have to have your mandatory session if you're a first-time customer, and then you'll be handed over to the hipster tattooed bartender, call it, right? So, and it's kind of California level, even California level, right? Now, the customer has been trained now for years to do everything online. COVID helped a lot. So in places like Pennsylvania, there is I would say, up to 80% online pre-order business. So they ordering online because it's in California, it's maybe 10%, right? Because in California, there's so much flower, there's so much product. You can walk in any store. There's not so much going on in the store, so much competition. So you can just walk in and get stuff. Pennsylvania, you have to make sure you reserve your stuff and then you pick it up. So it turned into this kind of very online savvy consumer there, I think. Same in Virginia, which just started. So they're trending towards that very on. In all those medical markets, there's so many hurdles to get in the store. So better you order online and do all your stuff online first. So they trained for that. Then you have, interestingly, and that's super interesting, I think, Massachusetts. We have one store on the border of New Hampshire, which we had to all open in COVID, and it was opened purely online. So there was never somebody in the store the whole of COVID. So it was even open. And this is our biggest performing store in the network. So that's like a monster. We call it the train station. Tingsboro is in Massachusetts. So it's a lot of our own product, of course. Massachusetts, we vertically integrated. But it's a real online savvy market. People are walking in now. Even now we could open the inside. They're walking in. There's all these kiosks, and they're pre-ordering already when they walk in, and then they go to the bartender. So it's a pretty much. They were trained like this, so they're doing it like this. They make sure they have their stuff. People coming from other states to buy stuff, obviously, and then they want to make sure they don't drive for nothing. So that's that market. We in Pennsylvania, I think back there we can never lose. I want to make a remark that we should never lose. I think there's so many patients. You call them patients. It's very important to respect that always, even if Pennsylvania turns into recreational, which is hopefully happening at some point. We will never lose. I think that pharmacist angle to it, or at least having somebody very knowledgeable who can talk to you about in a separate space about your preferred intake methods, right? Like, in what can help you with your issues. You have medical issues, right? So that's a very important thing to keep that on, because we saw that at Illinois, we were part of switching to recreational. We always made sure that medical line has their own line, and it's not just overnight. Okay, we don't care about you anymore. The patients are really important, and they're very loyal, I think, to the stores, which is important because there's so many stores around always, right? I always say it's like a 6-mile radius around a store where people go to that store, and then if other people deliver in it or they open it, and it's like a battle, right? Where's the cheapest weed? Where's the cheapest weed? Then the loyalty is a big problem, right? Everybody sells the same stuff. That's why it's so important you have great brands of yourself. So if you want sachet, and that great sachet, which is, we never know how good it is, you go over to Biantalo, right? So that's, I think, I hope that answers your question.
It does. And I love what you just said about the medical patients being loyal. And I'm wondering, like, is something lost when we move from medical to rec with, I see people all the time going into dispensaries, and they are driven by medical needs, and it might be their first time shopping there, and they are looking for guidance, they're looking for education. But in a rec market, maybe there's not as much emphasis on that, and maybe that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity. I think California moved its own way, I think, over the last decade, right? So in these states, I think we have it better under control, because I think you never had, there's really, if you see our stores in Pennsylvania, this is really like as good as it gets. This is like on the level of California, those stores. The only problem is you have to show still your medical card. You have to go through all that stuff. You have to wait in a waiting room, and then you go in. But that's already super, super, super hip. And if you come the first time, the mandatory session with the pharmacist. But I think it's going to be different there, because was so well built through the medical times we went through, right? It's very solid there, and we will always respect those people. That's why I'm saying it. I'm sad that you cannot do this in California enough, because it's already like been kind of mixed up too much with it. Nobody knows anymore. There's too many stores. I think when I go, I never feel like there's anyone can tell me about medical stuff in California.
Totally. Yeah, and since we're on the topic of talking about retail locations, let's take a look at what these places look like. And you can even see just in these little thumbnails that there are some regional variation.
Yeah, so this is exactly. So New Leaf is an acquisition we did in Nevada. We have like 3 stores there with New Leaf. Just opened one. The one you see is on the Strip even. So that is super hot competitive market for us. Great, because we can train, and if you're a boxer and you're not in, you don't want to be like Virginia. You have no competition, then you get out of shape, right? Even if you're the greatest marketer, you get out of shape. So that's why you have to be in those places. Like New Leaf, Vegas is one of the toughest markets. Then Nature's Remedies in Massachusetts, I just said, it's a recreational market, super cool. Promotions are not allowed really, online. So there's still some hurdles to take, but it's what we do always. Our formula is like freestanding building and good parking. Good parking is a big deal, and all our new stores have fantastic parking and they're freestanding. Why is that? Because people always, it's interesting. People don't want to go to the store where you would think the greatest store is downtown Philadelphia, where all the restaurants are, and we have a store there. But this is our least performing store in Philadelphia, because it's a medical market and people don't live around there really. It's only restaurants. So it's not something I'm going to the restaurant, let me go quick to the dispensary. It's more on my way home. I'm driving past the place, I'm parking, I'm going in, I'm a little bit more, I'll call it low key, and not everybody sees you. And that's important. I think that's why we choose those locations very, very, very wisely, with specifically good parking, and a little bit out of the big traffic places in terms of like foot traffic and like other entertainment or like big stores or something.
It's almost like the convenience store model.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And it's like something when you drive home at night, if you want to go past somewhere, you park, you go in, nobody knows you, I guess. Still, I think there's still some hurdles to take. I see this with there's some stores in LA which like I think Sweet Flower, they're opposite in Culver City, opposite the Amazon, a big WeWork and Sony Pictures. So I went in there, asked them how much traffic you're getting from those offices, and they say not much really. Like, yeah, and that's surprising, right? You would say, oh, this must be the best location on earth, but they don't get much traffic because it's not a thing you go for your lunch break in the dispensary, and then your boss probably sees you and like, okay, even if it's
your boss can see you out their window, see you walking across the street.
Exactly. I hope you're not doing this while you're working. So there's
a lot of discretion and safety and lots of other types of concerns other than just what's being sold in the store.
Exactly. And some of those places, Pennsylvania, you don't even have the real stuff in the store. You're not allowed to show anything. You just have empty boxes sitting around there. Even in some counties in California, the case, right? So sometimes you have to darken the window and nobody can see inside the store and all that stuff. So there's so many things you have to think about. That's why that concept you see, like Nature's Remedy, that's a beautiful example. It's like this freestanding thing. You'll turn like this in Millbury, this one little city. So so there's a lot of dispensaries in the city, but as well on the main streets, right? Like, and this is a little bit more off the grid. A great dispensary as well. Medical. It's a medical dispensary at the same time.
Yep, definitely. Well, we only have a few minutes left, so I want to throw out our next stat, our little quiz. And this is a new thing that we're bringing out, and it's called the Dank Rank. So this one should be fun. A lot of the people in our audience probably will be familiar already with some of these edible brands in Colorado. But I think we have a pretty diverse audience, right? There are people from other states that might not be as familiar with Colorado brands. So let's throw that on there and take a look. The question is, name the top selling edibles brand in Colorado. A, Wana Brands, B, Incredibles, C, Infused, and D, Wild. So audience, go ahead and put your best guess into the chat. And while you're doing that, I just want to call out a comment from Jeremy Johnson, which is also a question. He said, physical location is obviously important to your retail strategy. How much importance do you place on your e-commerce strategy for your retail brands? Interesting question.
Yeah, super important. I mean, specifically, like, I mean, it's all about, for me, it's all about online. If you even see, like, if you talk advertising, for example, it's the only thing that moves really the needle is some of the digital stuff. So you have to focus your company on digital. The retail stores in the end could be anywhere. When we that's like 5 years forward or something. These websites, they are the lead generators for the retail store. So in the end, there's so much traffic. You mentioned 80% traffic on Pennsylvanian sites of what's actually bought. So this could go to delivery. This could go to anything, right? As long as you have that traffic, and you have to make sure you have your traffic and you own your traffic. Don't give it to anyone else.
Interesting. Yeah. A lot of ways to sort of slice and dice your marketing plan. Digital, in person, word of mouth, talking to bud tenders, a lot of layers. I see a lot of guesses in here, a lot of D's. Good job.
Yeah. And a lot of great people. Thank you for joining us today. I see Jason.
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's good questions. I mean, this is like, I'm very online. So we're very online at Jushi. So like we bet on online. But we make sure our stores are like the best experience it could be. Like we have like our head of retail the whole retail team is coming from anthropology. So these guys know how to sell stuff which you don't need. Imagine they you need it all. You go in there, whatever you buy, all this stuff you never needed.
That's so funny. They came from anthropology. That's the source of your bud tenders. Hilarious.
Brandon Lynch is the leader of our retail. So we have but these guys understand retail, right? So lots of people in cannabis, I think what I found in our hires and our acquisitions, they don't understand retail. It's more like, yeah, like there's not much from classic retail there. And these guys know retail like no other. So if you combine a powerful trained bud tender with that knowledge and the experience of like a store and the flow of a store and how it's designed and what's offering and how you present your own product in it, then you're on a winning formula. That's what we're betting on. And then of course the whole online engine playing in harmony with that couldn't be any better.
I love that. And I love this comment here. Not true. I need everything in anthro. I love that. Should we share the answer? Thank you to everybody who guessed. You all did a great job. Let's see the answer. It is D, Wild. And there was definitely a consensus on that one. I think like 80% of our audience got it right. So you all are very knowledgeable about the Colorado edibles market.
Yeah. And I mean, you can say that about most of the markets. Wild is just killing it, right? That's why I mentioned it earlier. This is one of the brands which you would actually, Camino and Wild are the ones, right? For gummies at the moment, wherever you meet is either Wild or Camino. The rest is all missed at the moment. Of course, you show the others. Don't want to bring down the others, but they doing an incredible job.
Yeah, and Wana Brands is doing some interesting things too.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. And but it's always like it's never too late. You remember like when Yahoo, I don't know if some of you might be young for it, but when Yahoo was the biggest and there was no Google, everybody was thinking, okay, there's no other search engines going to come, and then Google came, and then it's just there's always like room for another great thing. So
Yeah,
I think
you never know who might be the front runner.
Yeah, never too late.
This is true. Hey, Dre, one quick last question before we let you go. We spoke earlier about assets. If you had an opportunity to create one asset for your cannabis brand, whether that's an NFT, whether that's an audio file, what would that be?
The great thing is that we are our worst own enemy, because we can literally, I can do whatever I want. So now it's the problem. What is the right thing to do, right? So I can come up with an idea tomorrow, put it in a team, we execute it, and then it works or it doesn't work. So I think what we will do is we will focus much more on this, what I said earlier, this branded entertainment concepts, where we really identify or really clearly define the brand values of one of our brands, and then match it with an intellectual property, which could be a band, which could be a book, which could be only a song, it could be anything, it could be a movie, and work on this in synchronicity. We have to be the producers of it in order to control it, right? So otherwise the timing doesn't work. So that's, I think, something I really want to do, like to do something really out there in terms of call it branded entertainment, with a cannabis brand, which is executed like nobody has done it before, in a way like, oh wow, that's out there, but it seems to work.
Right.
Something to connect. That's what I want to do.
Right. Yeah, and that's what we want to see. That's what everybody wants to see.
Wait until the movie, right? It could be anything, guys. It could be only a song, like we create. But you have to look at the values, right? When you define the values of a brand, and then you just look out there, there's always like a matching twin somewhere in the entertainment industry, which then we can support, and we never have to mention the brand anymore, because that twin will do the work now. If I support this and I promote it, I don't have to show my name anymore. It will do the job. A great example is like when FedEx was in the Castaway movie with Tom Hanks, right? It's part of the story, right? It's like, imagine you sitting in this meeting with executives and you're telling them in the first 5 minutes your plane is going down, crashing, and then our protagonist is sitting on an island and never leaves anymore until he's picked up and everybody dies. But this is a commercial for FedEx forever, and delivers the message, right? Like we always deliver, because he's delivering highly emotional in the end the package to this woman. He was staring at that package in this address in somewhere in Midwest for years. So that's the kind of stuff I think can be done.
That's right. Absolutely. And it's emotional. It's really pulling on our senses. Dre, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. We love that. We love what you're doing in the industry, but we really love that you're able to take your experience from outside the industry and bring it into the industry, and that's really, I think, what's most important moving forward. Yeah,
humble servant of the plant. I really learned to love this plant, and I think we're all in the service of this plant. And it sounds a little bit cheesy, but I really feel that. I haven't been a consumer before, so thank you for inviting me and having me.
Come back anytime.
Super.
That's right.
Thanks, Dre.
Thank you. Wow. Well, that was our show for today, and we'll be back again next Thursday, as we always are. Thursday at 11 a.m. PST and 2 p.m. EST. Thank you so much for joining us. If you missed us in the meantime, you can rewatch us today on LinkedIn, or you can find us on YouTube on our channel as well. So follow us. You can follow us right here, or you can check more out at brandingbud.com. Thank you, everybody. As always, it was great. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. And definitely follow the page for a chance to win an autographed copy of David's book. If you follow between now and October 31st, you're entered to win. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.